Today, we're talking about massage and a holistic approach to coaching. And I'm thrilled for this episode because today's guest is someone that I've had the pleasure of knowing for probably 7 or 8 years now. And I've witnessed his growth, and he's such an inspiration when it comes to changing career and following your passion to start a business and doing the work to grow both personally and professionally to become a leader in your field. And he's passionate about helping people. He's got a diverse range of life experiences and tools and techniques that he uses to help his clients unwind their muscles and get deep relaxation. And he gets raving reviews from his clients, myself included. And so, welcome to the coaching circle, Craig Collings Wells.
It's great to be here.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig. It was funny when I was writing this and I was just thinking about when we met. I think it was 2016. I think it was 2016 when we first met. And you'd already started your business. How long were you in there? How long had you started
I
then?
reckon it may have been 18 months, nearly 2 years.
Yeah. So you're quite new still, really, in the scope of business when we think about business being a long game. And you had your setup there, which was all really great. Um, but I remember because I can't even remember how I come across you, but I remember meeting you and you were like, I don't do networking. and that's so funny now because now we're both involved in networking groups and everything else, which is a testament to all your growth and what you've done. But what I would love to come back to is just asking Craig, what actually led you? Because I love asking my clients this because I know that people who listen to this are often people who are coaches or starting their own business, or they might even be your clients. I'm sure there's a lot of your clients that want to listen to this. And it's always really interesting to just hear where people started and, what got you into massage, starting a business, and why is what you do important to you?
Originally, it all started with a therapist I had. I had a massage therapist that used to make me feel amazing. And she did something very similar to what I do. She then started a college down here in Adelaide called Aminia Natural Therapies. And starting with her, doing my remedial, my wife Amanda did the aromatherapy diploma. We both started doing these courses. Then all of a sudden, there was a component to do with business. And before I knew it, I had an ABN, I had a business name, and it's like, okay, now you have a business. And it's like, what? So it was almost by accident, but the real crux of it was I wanted to help people feel good. I remember saying that to my massage therapist. How can I make people feel the way I do right now? And that's where it all began. And through my own, I guess, adversity, I had different injuries over the years, and it got me out of a 19-year journey in butchering, which is what I started when I left school. And
Mm.
I basically had a numb hand, and a lot of the doctors, the chiropractors, the physios, even my massage therapist, they were working on points that I know myself now weren't actually helping. They were actually just putting a band-aid on it, which would then, the pain would increase and come back. But it's those experiences that help me with my clients because I totally understand what they're going through. And between doing martial arts for another 12 years involved there as well, I had several injuries there too, almost sound accident prone. But these experiences have helped me with my clients because I can generally feel where a problem starts and everything is connected. So understanding the way the body works, understanding the way everything is actually attached to something else, and knowing where to look for something after experiencing it myself has been a it's been an addition to my journey.
Yeah. Craig, look, and you've done so many amazing things. And I think, I'm always inspired by that, the fact, you went into this career like butchering for 19 years. And then, obviously, well, we know because I know you've trained NLP because you've learned it with me. But we know so much about how the unconscious mind works with the body, right? Like if you're out of alignment with what you're doing, that the body can create pain, essentially, can't it? if it's saying like this
It,
isn't good for you or you shouldn't be doing this.
my body drew the line in the sand, and it actually said to me, it's like, well, if you're not going to leave, if you're not going to get out of this industry, I'm going to make you. And so it did. It made it so it wasn't safe for me to work.
Yeah.
And it was that internal conversation I wasn't listening to that was one of my blockers with a lot of things. And through NLP, I had a lot of different shifts. Not only a fear of sharks disappeared through a phobia release, but it's just a lot of those processes where I thought I wasn't good enough. Who was I to ever be doing something like this? And I even listened to someone when they said to me it was going to take 5 years to build up a client list. And I looked at them as somebody that I respected. So I believe what they say. So I actually put that in almost in like a goal. In 5 years, I was going to have a full client list. And I had no reason to do that.
Mm.
It's knowing what I know now. It's through learning NLP without limiting decisions, limiting beliefs. You can actually go forward instead of holding yourself back like an anchor.
Ah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such an important thing, like, I'm so passionate about people learning NLP, obviously, for anyone, especially anyone in business, just for understanding language and how we create our reality, because we receive so many suggestions, especially from people who we look up to or who we see as an
Mm.
authority, and we'll take it on board as
Yep.
suggestion without even questioning it. And I think, it's like, it's great to see that you have grown, a full client list and your business is doing really, really well now, Craig. But yeah, you think about that, right? Like how could that have potentially held you back or whatever else? So yeah, it's really important stuff. But we'll get more into this NLP and how you use it in your massage in a minute, because I really like your approach and the understanding that you have. But one
Mm.
of the things that I've always thought ever since I knew you were a butcher, to me, I go, well, of course you're so good at massage and what you do, because butchering, you understand how, even they're not human bodies, how like muscles and things and whatever go together. Has that? Do you say that? Do you feel
Oh,
like that's given you an insight
absolutely.
into how you're so good at what you do with remedial massage?
I treat without my glasses, so I actually lose one of my senses. My sense of sight, it's everything's fuzzy, and I have to really concentrate to actually see. So when I put my hands on someone, I can actually see under the skin with by feel. And when I first started in college, they used to have I had to learn a whole new language of what the muscles were because I knew them as something totally different. And to sort of look at something and said, "Oh, this was the silver side."
Yeah.
No, Craig, it's not the silver side. And I was like, okay. So I had to then learn a lot of, well, basically, they're almost Latin terms, but the terminology through the body. And not all my clients need to hear that either. They actually
Mm,
like to know where the muscle is. Like, even if you actually, if not, I refer to the muscle by actually putting a little bit of compression on it. Just, I don't like hurting people either. My theory, even with the muscles, is if you hurt someone, anything you've released is now tight again. So it sort of is counterproductive in my book. But
mm.
being able to see that, you can actually see how things connect. And looking at even looking at my muscle chart I've got here, and thinking about the old song, the knee bone's connected to the hip bone, the hip bone connected. And it is so true. It's not only with the muscles, it's with the skeletal system as well. And I'm not trained in any cracking or any work with the bones, but the muscle structure has so much control. You take all the muscles off the body and the bones just collapse in a heap. So
Mm.
the muscles have a lot of control in the way the body works. And then the muscles remember how they work on a daily basis and what they need to do to support the structure as it goes up the body. And so if there is something that's out of alignment, or if there's a muscle that's too tight, something else then corresponds on the other side, which then tightens to take pressure off the other.
Yeah.
And it's like a domino effect.
Yeah, and I know, like, from my own personal experience, because I remember when you said that, like, I don't hurt people or don't believe in hard massage, and I was so relieved because, for years, I never got massages, and when I did, like, it was painful, and I just couldn't work it out. I'm like, I don't know why people were getting massages. Like, to me, it wasn't fun at all, especially if in my calf muscles. Maybe my calf muscles are a bit tight. I'm not sure, but And I used to be like, I'd sit there and wince and go, "Oh, this is, it's uncomfortable." I didn't get it. And then, and I remember when I first come and saw you, and you were like, "No, I don't believe in hurting people, and that's not how this works." But even when I said, like, I don't know if I had things, usually it's probably to do with my hips or my shoulders or something like that, are usually my spots. And you'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is this. I'll just like press here and release this thing, and then you should find that is better or something." And I'm just like, wow, it really is. That's amazing. And I know even another lady that who's in a networking group has said that after having a session with you, um, it was like she didn't even need to go to see the chiropractor or something, or like she has these ongoing issues, but after seeing you, she was just like, that has been the best treatment I've ever had. Like I've had the most relief that's lasted the most time. And I think, yeah, it's a real, it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. And I don't, like I said, I always bring it back to Craig's a butcher, like he knows how all this stuff connects. But of course, you've done a whole lot more training other than that, Craig.
Oh, I have. I
Mm.
have. I think the first person well, I wasn't quite qualified. I met was Matthew Greenwood, and he's basically trained as American Indian shaman, and he taught me a lot about ego. And I never forget to him. He said to me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to save the world. I want to actually help everyone." And he put his hands on my shoulders and says, "Craig, you can only help one person at a time. And that has a flow-on effect. Otherwise, you will burn out and we're going to lose you too." And I never forget those words. And he always gave the best hugs too. But
Mm.
it's like even then I went and I've learned Reiki. I did Reiki 1 and 2, and my instructor even said to me, unless you're wanting to teach, you actually have enough information in 1 and 2 to do everything you want. And I was so blessed to have him as a lecturer. That was Michael Barton. And then I've done not acupuncture, but I've done acupressure. So I'm not a great lover of needles, even though I'm in the over 200s of blood donations. I'm not a
Yeah,
great
you've
lover
had
of
a few
needles
needles,
myself.
haven't you? Those regular blood donations. That's another thing that's
Yep.
amazing. Yeah, if you've ever
Yeah,
needed a
but
blood transfusion, you've most likely had some of Craig
I've
Collings
been part
Wells.
of it somewhere.
Yeah.
But especially if you're sort of looking at O positive, and I always think, well, that's what I am. I'm O positive.
Oh,
That's
so
me.
positive. Yeah. I love it. So
But it's
acupressure. So what's the difference between acupressure and acupuncture?
Well, acupuncture, you're using needles to go in. It's also known as another version of it is dry needling,
Oh, yes.
where acupuncture is actually a diploma, which I guess I'm more favored towards if I'm sending clients to and referring off. And it's basically going in deep into the body with the needles at different depths, but it's connecting on a deeper level. And then it's leaving them there to actually activate. And sometimes they even put electrodes on with the acupuncture, whereas acupressure, it's using your fingers to get on in different points of the body to work on the meridians to unlock something in your foot may unlock something behind your ear. And
Yeah,
it's
wow.
amazing. It's just full systems through your body. And that's why even reflexology can be so good for your body, because there's so much on our feet. With the right pressure at the right place, it can actually work through the whole entire body.
Yeah, wow. It's so fascinating because it's like your feet. I've heard that you've got all these things on your feet that relate to your whole body. When I spoke to Joyce Piper, she was talking about all the things on your face that relate to things on your whole body. I'm like, I'm not a big fan of people
Your,
touching my feet. Suppose
your hands as well.
and your hands, yeah. I'm a Pisces. I'm supposed to like people touch my feet, but I'm not. I'm not a massive fan, I have to say.
Not everybody does. There is people, I have clients that don't like their feet being touched, and even being ticklish is another one. That's generally, you'll find it's can be a trauma, like even from being
Mm,
tickled, or it's just you don't like people touching you for one reason or another. And I have
yeah.
even come across that within my treatment room, and a lady sat there and said, "I really want a treatment, but I don't want you to touch me." I was like, "Okay, fair enough, lay down."
Well, massage.
And yeah, and what it was, I ended up doing a Reiki treatment on her, an energy treatment. And it was letting her actually become comfortable with me, and for her to be open for the treatment that was going to be able to be helping her. And that's what this place is all about. I'm about making people feel comfortable, and it's in that environment that change can happen unless you're
Mm,
actually, I guess I try to sync with them as well and become as close to them as I can.
mm.
And so when they actually come into my room, before they even go in there, I try and connect with them and make them feel comfortable. So when they do go in, um, it is a very vulnerable and a personal thing. So it's about making sure someone feels comfortable and covered, and making sure that everything that they want is what they get.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's
so
really
it's
important, Craig, because I know, if you've never been for massage before, and like I said, when I never used to go for massage very often when I was young, like I could count on one hand the amount of times I'd had a massage before I was like, I don't know, 40. Um, like it was always like a bit awkward. It's just like, what am I supposed to like wear, or what are you supposed to do, or like how, getting undressed in front of people, and like, all these kinds of things that you think about. But I think, you know, if you were to say to someone who was coming in for their first massage, what are the key things that you think most people appreciate knowing to put them at ease?
if they've never had a treatment before, it's just nice to know that when they come in, they're filling out a form, which gives me a bit of a landmark or an idea on who they are and where their pain is, or whether they're just coming in to try and actually turn their mind off, which I do take people through like a guided meditation while they're on the table. I get them to visualize different things, but I try and explain a little bit of that as well. And also just the actual setup. If even if I'm talking to someone on the phone, I'll say you'll come in. Um, you it's it is about them. Basically, the treatment is entirely about them. It's not about me. I'm just there to help facilitate their treatment to get them to a place where they want to be. So whether that be oil or no oil, whether it be fully clothed or just down to underwear, but then they also know that they're covered with towels. I have draping towels, probably more than some people use, because I've always thought, being male, I want to be more careful, I guess, is one of the ways of looking at it, and more respectful, because being if a towel slips, and for me it's devastating. I don't want that to happen. So I want someone to be comfortable on the table and get their full experience from a treatment where they walk out feeling like they're amazing, feeling on cloud nine.
Yeah, yeah, and I
And
really
all
get
of
that.
that is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I get such that sense from you, Craig, because I know as soon as whenever I've gone in with you, or even, your wife Amanda, I've never felt uncomfortable at all. It's always been very relaxed and easy and simple, and explain to what you need to do, and all those kinds of things. And you give privacy, obviously, to get dressed or undressed or whatever you want to do, and
Very
all
much
that kind
so.
of stuff. So yeah, so that's really great. And I think, the other thing, Craig, and what I like about your approach, and this is what we're talking about being very holistic, is that, I think you guys to think, oh, you'd only get a massage just because, like, maybe you've been doing something and you've strained some muscles, or
Mm.
whatever else. But what are the actual causes or reasons that people need to come and have massage for?
Well, you still have people that come in with injuries. Then the injury could be like, there was a gentleman this morning that had shoulder injuries. Now, that shoulder is from a build up, and apparently it's been building up for about 18 months. Now, had have come in after even 6 months, it would have been something that I call maintenance instead of hard work, and giving people the knowledge of how they can actually work on themselves. So it's not just that hard work when they come in, it is just getting from middle ground, from just starting to feel that pain back to living life again. And it could be someone's coming in just to actually experience how to unwind and how to actually stop thinking, or being able
Mm,
to turn the day off and be able to lay on a table with, listen, I generally have American Indian music playing, so they sit back, relax, and I get them to think also about where they could possibly be, whether they're down at the beach or whether they're in a forest, or they could be anywhere. And that actually relates back to, I have a green door, and that green door is for everybody. And as soon as you come in here, that green door becomes your anchor point for wherever you're not here. And if you feel a twinge or a pain, or just feeling a bit uptight, or even feeling a little bit stressed, think of the green door, then it reminds you of how you felt laying on my table behind the green door, feeling like they did then, it
Yeah.
brings back from that anchor. Yet
Is
again,
there a, is
learned
there a
that one through NLP.
Shakin' Stevens song or something that talks about a green door? It's a
There is
green
one of my
door.
clients sent it to me,
Yeah. Okay,
and
every
it's
time you
like,
say green door, I'm like, is it Shakin' Stevens? Shaky Stevens? I don't know.
it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah, that's funny. But it's a nice anchor. But so it could
It
be that
is.
people have got injuries. It could be that, maybe I've done it in a garden or something, or it could be
Yep.
like stress relief.
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not so much only having, like, if you spend too much time in the garden, understanding the key triggers that you know something is about to happen, and being able to listen to your body is such a big thing, because when you're actually, I get my clients to do a lot of breathing, and I teach them something I learned in martial arts through my instructor, and it's the breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, but counting in and then counting out, and it
Mm,
becomes very euphoric. And so, as my clients are thinking about what their body is doing and closing their eyes and doing almost like an x ray of their body and their muscles, they sort of being able to have that internal conversation. Sometimes you can actually fix yourself by talking to your own muscles and talking to your body, and especially being able to reason with your mind. Because as we know, the subconscious or the unconscious mind has such control of everything we do. And so
mm,
when you say something, even on my table, I correct people with their language. If they're starting to sound like they're trying to be negative, or things aren't going to work, or this may not happen, I said, well, let's not say that in here, because those we don't talk like that in here. And it changes to the positive effect. And
yeah.
it most of the time the subconscious will actually pick up on that. And it's, oh, there's been a change. And even I have
Mm,
a mirror on the inside of my door, and when I say to people, did you notice that thing on the back of the door? And they say, oh, what, the mirror? I said, but who was in it? And I often like people to see their reflection. It's not so much that they see themselves, it's more to see that person they need to look after. Because if they
mm,
can look after that person they see, it's going to work both physically and emotionally.
mm.
And it just gives them that extra buzz, because they know they can actually give that person a wink, or say hello to that person, even if you only do it in your head.
Yeah. Making good sunshine. Yeah.
And
Well,
absolutely, and it's
but it's such a powerful thing though, because I think, obviously I teach, like I said, NLP, hypnosis. I was just teaching hypnosis the other day. And that mind body connection is so powerful. And I think that's one of the things that people don't realize. It's like literally what you're saying to yourself affects the health of your body. And
so much.
I had a brilliant experience of this. And I know you've met my mum before, Craig. But the other
Yep.
weekend when I was teaching hypnosis, because I was teaching online, my mum could join us. So my mum learnt
Okay.
hypnosis with me. And anyway, I was speaking to her on the weekend, and she said, "Oh no, I've had a bit of a cold during the week." And she goes, "Oh, but I'm getting better." She goes, I hypnotized myself and visualized myself healing, and that I was getting better, and telling myself that I was going to be fine. And I
Absolutely.
swear I'm getting better quicker." And it's so powerful, right?
It so is.
Yeah.
And being able to see, like, I have people come in and see me that do bodybuilding. I have martial artists. I have different fighters of different things, and being able to guide them even through the principles of positive thinking, and even like walking into the ring and actually stopping in the middle of the ring, right in the middle, looking over at your opponent and smiling at them, and then keep walking. It's all part of your routine, but you've just psyched them out just from thinking about it. And
Mm,
all you've done is smile. And it's being able to actually think of then, okay, all I'm asking of my body is to do what the memory of it is doing, and
mm,
understanding if I stretch, understanding how the principle that the body work, even
yeah.
how the joints work. And
Yeah.
so that in the mind, you can see things happening. But then I guess even from, like, when we're doing goal setting, I did my martial art, when we were doing a technique, you would think of the last thing that you do, because your body already knows how to get there. So you think of
Mm,
the last thing, then boom, it's done.
yeah. Yeah. So you've got to think about yourself being well and relaxed and moving easily and being healthy and all those kinds of things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so powerful about your approach, Craig, because you're not only do you have a really deep insight and understanding into literally how does the body go together and connect and all those kinds of things and move, but you, like you said, you're also a Reiki master, so you understand energy and how energy flows
You
through
wanted to.
the body. Yeah. Um, you're also, there's all these other acupressure and things that you've done. And I'm sure there's other body work type stuff. You do something with the
Cranial sacral therapy is another.
cranial sacral. Yeah. Which is,
Yep.
what's that about?
Basically, that's from basically there's another rhythm in the body. And Dr. Upledger was one of the original founders, and he was actually in a surgery where he was meant to hold on with these clamps onto somebody's the flesh that comes down right on the spinal above the spinal cord. He was supposed to hold it still while they got rid of some calcium built up on the vertebrae, and he couldn't hold it still because there was this rhythm that was actually running backwards and forwards, and the other doctors like,
Ah,
hold it still. He goes, but I'm trying. And they realize that there's another rhythm in our body. It's not just the blood flowing around from the pumping of the heart. Our lungs are pushing oxygen into our blood as we're actually pulling it in. The lymphatic system only works if the muscles move. And so this is another rhythm. And we get told that our skull is fused. Now, if you ask doctors and even chiropractors, they will actually tell you that the skull is fused. But being fused together like this, so blood vessels can actually get through into the skull, and you have something, your fluid that's protecting your brain, it actually gets in there. If you've had a knock to your skull, what happens is sometimes you might get a small crease, but also you'll find the skull then hits the back of your head. And so the actual brain, your brain will, it's almost like it enlarges or it gets inflamed. And so that's
mm,
when the body starts going in panic. Whereas cranial sacral techniques can actually loosen the skull, and it's almost like it goes like this. Your hands might not move, but it feels like it's going like this. And
mm.
it is amazing. But even stretching of the muscles that are supporting the brain or supporting the base of the skull and the base of your pelvis and the base of the spine. And it's like this drag that goes one way, then the other. It's just
Yeah.
incredible.
And
And
of
it's
course
so
that's where
gentle.
our whole nervous system's tied into, right? And I've seen those pictures of like if you just had the nervous system and it's like it's pretty much a full body, isn't it?
It
Like
runs everywhere.
yeah, like it's like a full body of all the nerves and things that go the whole nervous system of the whole body. Like it's incredible. And so yeah, that's really that's crazy stuff.
Even
Well
if
not
you think of
like
that
crazy good.
nervous system, like that nervous system is run through like electrical pulses. And if you
Mm,
think of the computer, which is our brain, sends electrical pulses down to the different things to work. But
mm,
it's the brain can't always be reactive quick enough to actually make changes and make things happen. So you hear about your gut responses, or I've got a gut feeling about something. And so we have different our body picks up ways to actually save us and help us.
yeah.
And a lot of that can be through the other ways of those pulses getting to an area quicker. It's like
Yeah.
putting your hand on the stove, and it's like if you waited for your brain, it might be too long and your fingers could be burnt. But
Well,
your
that's the
body goes
unconscious
fight,
mind,
fight.
isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
it sure is.
It's saying that's the unconscious mind is the domain of the body. It has those intrinsic things that you don't have to consciously think about or consciously react to or yeah, yeah, amazing.
Absolutely.
So so which leads into that's the other level. So you understand all the connections, the nervous system, energy, how that works through the body, but then also you've got that the mind, the how does the mind work, the mind, the unconscious mind, language, and how that affects the body and the health of the body and the movement of the body. And yeah.
And even having clients that have been through timeline therapy with me, even one that I can talk about that had a real fear and had done all of this martial arts and done all these different training. But as soon as he got angry, he got really afraid. And it's going back through his timeline, which is like our memory of where we've actually been through all of our life. He was able to see that he got both of those, anger and fear, at the same time. It was actually, yeah. And he got them in that order: anger, then fear. And whenever he got angry, he got scared. So he'd be in the middle of this argument with someone, he'd be getting really angry, then all of a sudden he'd get really scared, and he lost so many battles with people because he was afraid. He'd get really angry and arc up, but then be afraid. And so when he actually learnt that there was a change, he could do something different. And then he went back into the situation at work where the guys normally just razz him just to get him angry, and he was laughing at them. And I remember his response was, I just can't believe I've done this for so long. And it's just reason. It was a couple of hours and it was gone.
Yeah.
And it's working through different processes, but it's amazing how this stuff all works.
Yeah. And that's the holistic approach, right? That's essentially taking a holistic approach where we look at every aspect of the human. I mean, even you're doing it from like the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in my room sometimes I do choose. I guess I choose who I share it with, but this place is very special, and I feel there's energies in here that I can't see them, but I'm lucky that some of my clients actually do see, and they tell me who's in here. And I believe that our guides actually help me with what I'm doing. And it's almost like a tap on the shoulder. It's like, get out of the way. It's my turn. But I actually ask for if I'm working on someone and I can't seem to get something to shift, I ask for that divine presence to come down and give me a hand. And
Yeah.
it's whether it be just my own intervention and being able to step away from my own mind and to be able to work with something clearer, or just energies, allowing extra energies to pump through. But I definitely feel there's extra assistance
Well,
in
there
this
is. And I
rooms.
think this is such a great conversation, Craig. And I'm so
Mm,
glad you went there, because I believe that we are spiritual beings. We do all
absolutely.
have the ability to connect to consciousness. I do the same thing when I'm coaching. Like, I know when I'm coaching, because
Yep.
I love coaching. I love training so much. Like, it's when I get in flow. It's why I love podcasting as well. I like talking to people about this stuff. And I like literally I'm there, and stuff just flows out of my mouth. And I think, geez, I don't know where that come from. That was pretty good stuff. I should take note of that. Um, but I think it's that when you know that you have that connection, because we're not we're not humans with a connection to spirit. We're spiritual beings in a human existence. And I think so much of uh society and conditioning cuts us off from that. But it's still there if we're open to it. And I think, people like yourself, and especially when you're working, when you take that leap of faith to go and do the thing that you're passionate about, and you dive into it and you immerse yourself into it and you do all that personal development and those things, it's so easy to open up that channel of consciousness, higher wisdom, whatever that is, that we all have access to, that you can then, be your best self, that you can do the work. That's not just you doing some work. It's like literally it's consciousness itself coming through. That's how I describe it
Absolutely.
anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've even had a couple of clients have brought me in spirit guide books, and I've even got a set of divine animals oracle cards
Mm,
that I tend to only use them myself when I'm looking through things. But with the animal guide book that I've got, the spirit guide with animals, I tend to see things, I see visions,
mm,
and it doesn't happen all the time, doesn't happen with everybody, but generally when I go back to look up that animal, it means something to them with what's written.
mm.
And I don't pick that. It's sort of just, it comes to me, and then people, they either take it on, or it either means something to them or it doesn't.
But it
And
doesn't. Yeah.
if it doesn't, they can just let it go.
Yeah. And I think that's another great thing about your approach, Craig, is that although you have access to all this stuff, you're certainly not someone who pushes it on anyone. Do you know what I mean? You're very good at just gauging where someone's at, and just giving them whatever it is that they're there for, or need, or whatever else, which I think is a real talent. Because sometimes, we can get so passionate about everything that we know. And I'm the same. I don't talk all spiritual stuff to all of my clients because some of them just aren't in that space. But when you just kind of get a sense when you have someone who's open to it, and then they benefit, which is really awesome. So, Craig, I'm so excited to be speaking to you. Like I said, like there's such depth and like talent that an experience that you've gained over the last few years. Like I said, all of the things with your massage and the craniofacial and the acupressure and the Reiki and your spiritual connections and the NLP and the timeline and the hypnosis and all those things that you've done all really combine into this very kind of magic
Mm.
package that you deliver for people. But I would love to know because, like I said, I know sometimes when people are starting businesses or wanting to change careers or step into something else, that it can seem really daunting. So, what do you think for you has been one of the most challenging things about starting a business, and how have you dealt with it?
I think for me, it was, I guess my family owned a servo for years and a service station, and I always saw business as something I'd never do. And I saw how hard it was. I even with employers that I work for, I saw how hard they worked, and I saw how many hours they did. Then all of a sudden, I'm in a business, and it's learning how to do the bookwork side of things, and learning how it's only been this year. This is our 10th year in this place that we're in now, and I've only just started doing my own reconciling my own bank statements, and it's being able to have that courage to ask for help and ask for advice, and then when you get that advice, put it in writing or put it on your computer so that you've actually got a step-by-step process, so that when you forget about it and you have to do it again in 3 months' time, you can go back to that and say, oh, I put that down. I've got my own steps here that I can follow my own wording to be able to work out what I did last time. And I think that was one of the things. And I guess the other thing is don't fight it. Find yourself a coach that works for you. Because I know I fought it for years, and well, maybe I should have done it years ago. We got one of these coaches years ago, but I've been, I guess in the last oh, 5 or 6 years, I've actually had a lot of inner change, and some of that has been those limiting decisions and limiting beliefs I spoke of before. Not being good enough, not being worthy. Who am I to stand up and say, I'm a business owner? But who am I not to stand up and say I'm a business owner? Because I am. The walls around me are proof that I'm in a position where people come in and I make them feel better than they walked in when they walk out. And to be able to do that, it gives me the biggest joy. And so I'm working for myself instead of working for a boss. And it's a matter of working out. I'm not going to say I work less hours for more money, but it's sometimes I actually, there is times when I have bumper weeks, and it's you actually sit at the end of the week and think, wow, how many people did I help this week? And
Mm.
then that's a flow on effect, because every person you've helped, it then can help somebody else. But it also brings back to that you've had a bumper week. Where am I going to find time to do the bookwork side of things I need to do? And that again brings me back to thinking of having your systems in place so that you're realistic about how long something is going to take, and knowing that with those systems you're going to get quicker at it.
Yeah, very, very wise words, Craig. And I think that it's so true. Like I know that's one of the biggest issues that I work a lot with people on is that kind of almost imposter syndrome or confidence
Oh,
in who am I to open my doors and have people come and pay me money or or say that I'm all this. And you've definitely worked through that and very much proven yourself as a successful business person. And, I think it's getting that thinking as well that you touched on that is essentially that when you have a business, and I get like what you were saying about growing up around business thinking you never wanted to be in business, because that's exactly what I thought. My dad was in business, and he had like 24-hour tow trucks and all kinds of stuff. And I was always like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be in a business. I'm going to have a business. And obviously overcame that myself. But it's not just, oh yeah, I love massage and I love helping people. There's the whole business component to it, which, like you said, having those systems, very good coach that gave you that advice, by the way, Craig.
you can very highly recommend it.
Yeah. Having those systems so that you can repeat those tasks easily and with increasing speed and accuracy, and even then be able to outsource them. But I think, it's even getting that mindset around understanding that the purpose of business is to make money. But
Yes.
it's not just making money, because I mean, and I mean that from the sense of, otherwise, if you're not making money, you've got a charity or a
Mhm.
hobby, right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of business is making money. But the beauty of it, and I think what so well it's so important to realize, and you've just said this, is that it's the amount of money that you make is indicative of the amount of people that you've helped.
Yeah.
So you're
Also
thinking about,
understanding your own worth.
yeah, yeah, that it's actually worth that. Absolutely, absolutely. So the more people you help, the more money you make, the more good you're doing in the world. And I
Yep.
think that's the thing with business, is that there's not a lot of other vehicles that allow you to do that in a way that aligns with your own values and your own morals, and your own passions with how you want to serve people in the world. So, like, yeah, that's amazing. If you can get your mindset aligned with the business side of it, then yeah, like you said, you're not always just working, like, the 4-hour work week or whatever that guy used to, what was that book? The 4-hour work week. Oh, his name's gonna escape me right now. But it's like, yeah, that's, a bit of a fantasy. But you have that flexibility, that you love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
control over that. Yeah, yeah. So what would you say? Well, I mean, that started off with a bit, what's the most challenging, but if you were to say what's the most rewarding?
Oh, rewarding for me is so many different levels, because it's like knowing that I've changed and be able to see, like I even say to people, if you had have asked me 12 years ago if I had a nail file and a whole manicure kit in my drawer, I would have laughed at you. Now I've got a range that, it's not just chewing on my nails and using a pair of clippers. To seeing my clients come out of a room, or maybe hearing about what you've done for somebody. Like, I have some clients that leave here and they don't really say very much, but then you might hear them talking about you to somebody else, or they'll leave a review that just blows your mind. And it's just, you've actually made you've had a big part of changing someone's life.
Yeah,
And if you didn't exist, like if I didn't exist here, would they still get that result? And it gives me just such a buzz to know that everything I've done and everything I've learned over the years, I know that I still believe I'm still growing. I'm definitely
mm,
not finished yet, but there is there is times in my life that somebody just put up on Facebook today that good to see you finally got into networking. As you said before, I'd never thought I'd ever do it. Talking on a podcast, never thought I'd ever do it, but
of
anything
recording
is possible.
videos. Yeah,
Recording videos,
yeah,
talking in front of a camera.
yeah. And do you know what? I just want to go back to a couple of things you said there, Craig. So if anyone's wondering, Craig has nail files because massage therapists need short nails. Like, I, I, that might be apparent to some people, but if you've not had massages, you might think, why is Craig doing his nails relevant? Because you don't want scratchy nails down your back, right? So
Absolutely.
that's really
Thank you
that's
for
really good.
clarifying that one.
Yeah. But like you said, that all these things that you've been able to do because you've kept working on yourself, like, because these are all the things that I work with people on as well, is that fear of visibility and showing up as the face of your business. But of course now, and which is probably a good segue, because you've recorded some amazing YouTube videos that help people do stretching and different
Yes.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
What I've done is I've actually taken, I do have a stretch sheet that I give to people after a treatment, and a lot of them relate to what I physically do on the table. Now, I've still got a couple more I have to actually record and put up, but there's a lot of it is actually what I do myself, because I actually won't show somebody something unless I physically feel that it would work on me.
Mm,
And there is different ways that people can do the same thing, which sometimes you need to do, but learning to give someone the ability to stretch over a rolled up towel, and instead of thinking about a bolster, a towel you'll get anywhere. You could go up to Hamilton Island, and I'm sure there'd be towels up there where Jasmine is. But all you need to do is look into your room that you're staying in. It's like, oh, I've got some towels. I can roll up some towels and stretch. And it's all about using what you have. Golf balls are another one that I put up on YouTube, to actually put that into a sock and actually roll your foot across it. It's in a sock so it doesn't roll away, so you don't spend
Right.
all your time chasing
Not so
it.
you can start
But
swinging it around or anything.
oh no, but if you
Could be
do have
dangerous.
cats
Don't
or
recommend
puppies,
that.
yep,
Yeah.
if you do have cats or puppies, you might want to use that sock to hang it up so that they don't think it's a toy.
Yeah, good
And
idea.
but it's all the things that I put up are ones that I use myself, and I've just recorded a um, grounding meditation as well that's going to be going up once I work out how to use Audibly. So that's my
Oh, amazing.
next thing in
Well,
line
and I'll put all the
is a
links.
recording.
I'll put all the links. Yeah, amazing. I'll put all the links to your YouTube, those stretching the towel ones in the show notes, as well as all your links of how people can connect with you. Because, and I know it's very easy to book in with you. You've got like an automated booking link and all that kind of stuff, so it's super easy. You can just go in there and see where's a time that works. But if if there was something that you'd really like people to know about working with, a holistic massage therapist coach like yourself that could help them make a really life changing decision, because let's face it, like, you're living life inside this body, mind, everything else. What's the one thing that you'd like people to know that could really help them make that decision that could change their life?
I think one that really made a difference to my life was to learn how to breathe.
Mm,
And it's something so simple that we all have always done, but we don't know what we're doing.
yeah.
And it's just something we do. And if you actually take the time to listen to your breath, and if you find that your breath is getting really quick and really fast, you're generally finding that you're getting more and more highly strung, which is not good for our bodies anyway.
Mm,
And so taking that fight and flight response out by slowing everything down, slows down your breathing, slows your blood pressure. It makes everything clearer, and you can actually take that inside. I don't like using the word, I think meditation gets thrown around a lot. But it gives you that opportunity to slow everything down so you can have a different view on what the world is doing and what you can see from your own eyes. Even by
yeah.
closing your eyes and breathing, you can see so much.
Bring it back to the breath. Breath work's been coming up a bit for me lately, and it was very interesting because on the weekend I googled resistance to breath work, because I've noticed I've had a resistance to doing breath work, and
Yeah,
I
I
was
can
like,
help you
"What
out
is
there.
this? What's that?"
I can help you out there. My Reiki instructors are also doing breath work, so I can help you
Oh,
there.
okay, great. Well,
My,
but I googled this resistance to breath work, and it was very interesting because what I read was that your body, if you've been like, obviously, I've done a lot of work on myself, but like, years ago when I started all this, the fear was the big thing that I shifted. And I've always been a very avoidant person and that kind of stuff. And I did this other thing with a chiropractor, which was called oh, what was it called? It's gone out of my mind because I wasn't thinking about it at the moment. It'll come back in a minute. But he would just do this thing. And he said to me, he goes, "Oh, you've got a lot of armoring in the muscles over your heart area." And this was a few years ago he told me this. And I was doing some work to kind of release that. But this was what come up in the resistance to breath work, was that if you've been like someone who's been in that kind of, especially that freeze, and you kind of, your body creates this armoring, and so it reduces your breathing and everything. And I guess that's like a fear response, isn't it? Like, you see like little mouse or something,
absolutely.
it's just like all just like not trying to move, and it's certainly not doing big breaths, and that creates this armoring. And so resistance to breath work can actually be the body not wanting to let go of this kind of, control or whatever else. And I'm like, oh, that's what it's been with me. And I think since I realized that, I think there's been a shift in me, because like I know I've got rid of a lot of that fear. And I did do some breath work not that long ago. But yeah, it's super fascinating what the body does and how it responds, and things like that. Yeah.
I like to call them aha moments.
Yes. Aha.
Yes,
Aha.
aha.
Aha. Aha. Fabulous. Well, Craig, it's been such a delight. I'm sure we could just chat on all day. But like I said, all good things have to come to an end. And like I was saying before, I'll pop all the links to how people can connect with you, those YouTube clips and things like that in the show notes. So just go to the show notes from this episode and you'll be able to see all of those. But the question that I do love to ask people, because, especially as business owners, sometimes, business can become our life. And we say, this is the most fun thing that I ever do. Like, I love podcasting and all those kinds of things. But what do you do for fun outside of your business, Craig?
Oh, just I try and spend some time with my family when I can, doing stuff at home that I don't get a chance to do here. But I'm also a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since I was 18, so it's quite a long time. So
Yeah,
that
wow.
gives me a different perspective. I've got a lot of people in my life that are a lot older than I am that give me guidance, and it's it's a it's been good for me over the years to keep me stable and on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. That's another whole conversation in itself. I think
I
my
think it
grandfather
would
was a
be.
Freemason.
Yep.
I don't know. All I knew is they had funny handshakes or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, you have to watch the video if you're listening to get what just happened then. But Craig Collings Wells, thank you so much for your time and being a guest on the Coaching Circle podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been great to be on here, and I appreciate the opportunity. So I look forward to watching it back.
Yeah.